Hey, gorgeous, and welcome to the Magnetic Woman community. I am so excited and so honored to be welcoming you into this global community of incredible women who are reclaiming their feminine power through pleasure. So, I wanted to take a moment and just introduce myself a little bit more and tell you a little bit more about who and what the Magnetic Woman is in terms of a brand and archetype and what you can expect now that you're here. Obviously, I'm Lauren Joyce, founder and creator of the Magnetic Woman. And if you would have told me that this is what I was going to be doing with my life, I never would have believed you for so many reasons. But I think first and foremost, I grew up Catholic. I went through 10 years of Catholic school and I was the quintessential good student, good girl, good little Catholic girl. I was an altar server. I really enjoyed going to church in a lot of ways when I was growing up. Some things didn't really make sense to me or sit with me, but and I deeply internalized a lot of religious conditioning. I mean, how could I not? When you have religion class every single day for 10 years of your formative years, how can you not internalize religious conditioning, programming, trauma? So fast forward to my early 20s when I am no longer part of the Catholic Church and quite frankly didn't believe in anything spiritually. I was like, there's nothing. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in anything. And then I was 25, nearing my quarter life crisis when my dad passed away. And I had no idea how to handle that loss, how to move through the grief that I was experiencing. And yet I also wanted to believe in something spiritually. And mix that in with a quarter life crisis, and you have a hot mess, or me at the time. And I was searching. I was searching for something to help me navigate all of the things that I was experiencing that none of my other peers were experiencing. Like, yes, maybe some people were having quarter life crises at the same time, but nobody had lost a parent. And I found myself drawn to Regina Thomasauer, which, if you don't know Regina, she wrote the book Pussy, A Reclamation. Now, in 2013, when I found her, she had not written that book yet. She had only written The School of Womanly Arts. And so I was really drawn to Regina's work, and I decided I was going to take her in-person course in New York City. I had no idea what I was doing. I had never even read The Secret at this point, right? So, like, I am not in personal development whatsoever, and I sign up for her 5-month course where every month there's an in-person weekend. And the first day of the class, Regina comes onto stage and she starts talking about women and our power. And then she says, a woman's power is found in her connection to her pussy. Everything inside of me wanted to run for the hills. Talk about religious conditioning, right? It was like the inner little nun came up and was like, get out. And yet something deep inside of me was like, they're actually, I'm interested. I want to see where this goes. Plus, I still was like very stereotypical good student. I was like, well, I signed up for this class. I've already paid for it, so we're sticking with it. And as I began to learn about all of these things that I had never even heard of, feminine energy, sensuality, desires, pleasure, either I hadn't heard of these things or I had only heard about them in terms of how shameful, sinful, and wrong they were. I was mesmerized. Not only that, but I was starting to learn somatic practices and skills rooted in pleasure that were helping me navigate grief. So there I was in 2013, feeling more confident, happier, more connected to other women than I'd ever felt in my entire life. And yet it was like the lowest point of my life. So I thought, I need to learn anything and everything I can about this. And I want to teach other women. So as I began to lean even more into my feminine and pleasure and into my feminine leadership, aka allowing the feminine to lead my life, I continue to come face to face with my deep and profound religious conditioning. And as I began to unravel and deconstruct the religious programming that I had, I found myself on the path that I call the sacred feminine. So, a spirituality that is steeped in the feminine, that is connected to the goddess or a non-gendered divine being, that is grounded in ritual, ceremony, that is this like remembrance of ancient feminine wisdom that our ancestors would have practiced pre-Christianity. And I was so drawn in specifically to the lineage of Mary Magdalene because growing up in Catholic school in the 1990s, I learned she was a prostitute, which is ironic because in the 60s, the church reversed that idea. Now, this is what you have to understand about Mary Magdalene. She was the apostle of the apostles. She was, in my opinion, and there is a lot of historical evidence to back this up, I believe that she was the romantic soul equal partner of Jesus in every aspect, aka they were together like man and wife. She was the priestess and he was the anointed one. She was the anointing priestess and he was the anointed one, right? And in the 500s, there's a pope, Pope Gregory, who gives a homily saying that she's a prostitute. She's a fallen woman. She's the lowest of the low. So in 2013, 2015, when I begin to kind of have this like spiritual awakening in terms of goddesses and the feminine, and I learned that not only was Mary Magdalene not a prostitute, but she was a priestess. And she comes from the lineage of Isis, meaning she was a sacred sexual priestess. So she was a priestess in all of the things that we've been told are wrong, shameful, dirty, taboo as women. She was a woman who saw all of those things as holy and sacred. I still get chills when I like come face to face with that realization. And so I really began to deepen my relationship and work with Mary Magdalene because for me, working with her felt that like this massive reclamation and healing of all of the religious programming, conditioning, and trauma that I had. So fast forward through COVID, then I go through a very intense breakup where I come to realize a lot of the relationship dynamic was toxic and abusive. And I begin to deconstruct a lot of the polarity content that I had learned back in 2015 through 2018. A lot of which I now realize and talk openly about how a lot of polarity content is corrupted by Christian nationalism here in the United States and ideas that are actually upholding the patriarchy instead of allowing the women to tap into their power. So when I started The Magnetic Woman, I was teaching a lot of polarity content, and a lot of the content was kind of centered around men, getting male attention, getting male validation, showing up in a relationship so that your man can show up for you. And now, after a decade, more than a decade of doing this work, of living it, eating it, breathing it, embodying it day in and day out, more certifications than I can count. My own spiritual journey, my own like sacred feminine maturation. You are joining us at really the rebirth of the magnetic woman, which is so exciting. So, a magnetic woman is a woman who is sovereign. meaning she knows that her power is within herself and of herself. A magnetic woman is deeply spiritually grounded in the feminine. She engages in ritual and ceremony practices that are connected to the divine feminine, the feminine outside of her, but also sees her own feminine internally, physically as divine. A magnetic woman is self-centered. When it comes to relationships, her motto is, I love you, but I love me more. She will always prioritize herself, her safety, her boundaries, and her full expression over appeasing and appealing to anyone or anything else. A magnetic woman is deep in sisterhood and community because she knows that the only way to allow her feminine to lead in her life is to be in community with other sacred feminine leaders. A magnetic woman sees her pleasure and connection to her pussy as her power. She sees her sensuality as sacred and her eroticism as her prayer. She is more devoted to living so fully expressed than she is devoted to suffering in order to prove her worth. A magnetic woman creates an iconic, outrageous life that is so unique to her by following her intuition, her pleasure, her pussy, her sacred feminine wisdom. A magnetic woman has de-centered men. Now, this is something that I know some of you or many of you might be like, I don't know. And is that even me? Centering men and centering the patriarchy means you're making decisions about your life, your expression, your attitude, how you're showing up in the world, what you're doing, what you're enjoying as a way to get male attention, get male validation, and or get the patriarchy's approval. Decentering men, which includes decentering a male god, is, I think, one of the most important, holy, sacred, revolutionary things a woman can do in 2025. And it also creates the most deep, authentic, profound magnetism you will ever experience in your life. It also creates the most peace that you will ever feel in your entire life. So I am so excited to have you here inside of the Magnetic Woman community. Again, we are a global community of women. And some of the things that you can look forward to is one, make sure to follow me on Instagram because I create so much incredible content over there. Plus, you get like a little behind the scenes of my life. You want to make sure that you are on my email list and my emails are going to your primary folder, not your spam folder, because that is how I communicate some of my best written content, plus all of the offerings that I have. And some of the offerings that I do have coming up, which are so incredible. First and foremost is the Magnetic Woman Legacy. This is a 12-month container. Now, you might see other women teaching magnetism in like 4-week courses, 6-week courses, maybe even a month or two. And those are all really great for the dopamine hits. But if you truly want to be leading your life with your feminine, you need a long and drawn out container because everything in this world, everything in the patriarchy is set up and created to keep you from your power. So having a 12-month like playground to use the tools that I teach throughout 6 different courses to engage in rituals, live rituals 2 times a month in the container, to be in the community, to give yourself the time and space to fall off of it and come back to it is unlike anything else. To me, the Magnetic Woman Legacy, not only is it like my legacy work as a culmination of everything I've learned, been certified in, embodying for the last decade of my life, but it's about you creating the legacy of being the magnetic woman in your life. And to me, the magnetic woman legacy really is this like what I imagine the goddess temples to have been in ancient Greece and Rome and ancient cultures and societies, where we're gathering together in community and sisterhood, where we're feeling spiritually fulfilled. And the other thing I really need to underscore when it comes to being a magnetic woman is that you are deeply driven. Like the magnetic woman is not operating from a broke healer mentality. Like this is not the space for women to come because they're looking for another woman to save them or rescue them. This is for the women who are leading themselves. This is for the woman where your bigness, your desires for a multiple seven-figure business or starting a charity or traveling the world, those epic, outrageous things, not only are they welcomed, but they're encouraged. So this, again, the Magnetic Woman Legacy is this space that I see being like an ode to the ancient goddess temples. And if you want a really deep initiation, then I want to invite you to join me in the High Priestess of Pleasure, which is really walking the lineage and the embodiment of Mary Magdalene and the sacred sexual priestess archetype. This is a 6-month deep, intimate mastermind. We have a 5-day in-person retreat where we go to a country, a space in the world where the goddess used to be worshipped, and we like walk in the path of the priestesses. And when it comes to being in community, both containers really emphasize sisterhood, which is vital to being a sacred feminine leader. So, and of course, all along the way, I have other offerings that come out, smaller courses or one-off trainings, you name it. So again, you want to make sure that you are staying close. And I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear why are you joining us inside the Magnetic Woman community? What is it that you're looking to get? So you can respond to this email or message me on social media. I would love to get to know you more deeply. So with that, my loves, I will see you very, very soon.